Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm happy to be with you today. My name is Lynette Phillips with Second to None Human Resource Services. And today's a very exciting day for me. It's Inauguration Day. So I want to wish President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris good luck on their 4-year run. And I want to welcome you all to the call today. So today, as always, I'm going to start out with what I'm drinking. And again, I'm drinking Starbucks Gold Coffee Blend this morning. That's one of my favorite blends. If you want to chat in what you're drinking, feel free to do so. I always like to ask that at the beginning of all of my meetings just to see what you all are drinking. And I'll give you a few minutes to chat that in if you want to, and if not, no worries. We'll just move on in a few moments. All right, I'm gonna continue to move on. This morning we didn't have, we didn't have any, oh yes, we did. We had a Maxwell House coffee drinker. So good morning. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. All right, so without further ado, like I said, I'd just like to find out, oh, we got a Folgers drinker in here. Thanks. Thanks for chatting that in. Perfect. So, like I said, I always like to start out with what I'm drinking for the morning because, after all, these are our coffee chats, and you don't have to drink coffee to chat in what you're drinking, and you don't even have to chat anything at all. I just like you all to know that I'm sharing my coffee for the morning with you, and I want to thank you for your time. But you didn't come here to hear about all of our coffee, so I'm going to move on without further ado. Today we're discussing de-stressing the evaluation process. And that's doing employee evaluations is not something that I used to be fond of. And the reason why is because it always was a time drainer in my mind. It was something that I had to do because someone told me I had to do it. And I had to make sure that I completed it to achieve some goal that I often didn't know what it was for. And then I started really looking at evaluations to determine what their true purpose is. And the purpose of an evaluation is to take some time with the employee, supervisor or manager, and their employee to get to know what each other are working on and get to know a little bit more about each other, as well as share feedback to one another. So evaluations are not always just for the employee to find out what they are, and most employees think doing wrong, and it's not. It's an opportunity for you both to get together and discuss what you're doing right, what you would like to, what the company would like you to continue to do, and what they may want to put a halt on. And because they want to put a halt on it doesn't reflect on you. It could just reflect on where the company is going for that time. So you want to make sure that we educate our employees when they walk in the door on why we do employee evaluations. I recommend that you share with them you're doing it so that the company and both you and the employee have a better working relationship throughout their time with your company. So today we're going to talk about 3 tips, and those tips are make the process bite-sized, don't carry the burden alone, and stick to the facts. And if you follow those 3 tips, I recommend that you follow. I'm pretty sure that you will find that you have a pretty flawless, de-stressed employee evaluation process. So I want to go over the first tip with you. And the first tip that we have is to make the process bite-sized. And what I mean with that is, ideally, when an employee joins your company, you'd have already sat down with them in the beginning, I'd say within the first 90 days of working with you, to discuss what their goals will be and what they would be working on for the year. And in this day and age, some companies don't even give goals for a year. They give them for 6 months to 1 quarter, or even monthly, because things are changing, especially if you're in the tech arena. Things are changing that fast. So you want to be aware of what industry you're in and make sure when you give your employee their goals, that they're realistic. And if you want some more additional information on goals, please check my YouTube post out on about goals. So you can learn to do a goal for an employee without, again, stress, because my goal is to help you do your job more efficient. And in this fast moving pace society we have, it's very important that we make great use of all the time that we have. So let me get back to the employee with my tip number one. You want to make sure that you set up a goal for the employee and you meet with them regularly. So when you set up the goal, also set in some time with the employee so that you can meet with them regularly. I recommend 60 minutes at least. Minimum time that I would meet with them is once a quarter. I recommend you do it more frequently, maybe once a month or once every other month, just to check in with the employee and gauge where they're at. During those meetings, you're going to go over the employee's goals and talk about where they are in the goal process of completion of projects. And you also want to have the employee take notes. The reason why I'm recommending you ask your employees to take notes is because this is an opportunity for you to have the employee send you back, because I'm going to have those notes be emailed to you, but it's an opportunity for the employee to send you back what they heard during the conversation. And when they send you those notes, you get an idea of what the employee is thinking. And you also want to take the time when they send you those notes, block out 30 minutes on your calendar so you can review the notes, so you're clear as to what actually transpired, what the message you were trying to give the employee, and you also want to make notes of your own from that meeting. When you make your notes, make them in a different color than the employee has made. So if the employee is using black type, you may want to use red, green, orange, whatever color you determine is good for you. So you can differentiate between what the employee has written and what you have written. That's going to be very useful information for you as we move along with the tips. So remember, the first tip is for you to make sure that you meet with the employee regular and that they recap the conversation with you in the form of an email. So that's how you make the process a bite-sized process within this de-stress employee evaluation discussion that we're having today. And when you have these meetings, that's also a fantastic time for you to also address any concerns or policy concerns at the time. So if there's tardiness or there's not tardiness, if there is any vacation requests, any changes in the directions for the company, or any company updates. And to me, those are policy concerns that you would address. And they don't, when I say concerns, don't take it as if they always have to be negative. They can also be positive. The company may have a great, exciting new product that they're rolling out, and you may want to share that with your employee during the time of your meeting. So that's an example of what would be a good company policy concern. All right. So tip number 2 is don't carry the burden alone. Okay, as I said in the very beginning, I didn't like to do employee evaluations because I thought they were time robbers. And they do take a great deal of time to complete an employee evaluation properly. But remember, we're de-stressing this process. So if you engage the employee and let them give you information that you're going to need throughout the completion of the employee's evaluation, both you and the employee will be on the same page at all times, and there will be no need for anyone to be stressed about the situation or the process, because both you and the employee will be aware of what the outcome will be towards the end of the evaluation. Something that I do not recommend is that you use the time for the employee evaluation to talk about any increases or salary or wage increases. If you make the employee evaluation just that, the employee would be much more receptive to what is being said as opposed to any anxiety around how much of a pay or wage increase they're going to get at the time. So when I say don't carry the burden alone, take the time for the employee evaluation when you get ready to write it, and pull up the notes that you've been having the employee send to you, those recaps, and use those as a guide to be able to fill out a proper employee evaluation. A lot of times what happens is we find ourselves at employee evaluation time, and we don't have any notes, we have nothing to reference, and we look back to the last 90 days, or we even try to remember what the employee has done with our memories. And a lot of times, because we're human, what we're conditioned to do is to only remember the challenging times. We don't remember all the times that we've celebrated successes with the employee. So pull out those evaluation recaps, the discussion recaps you have, and use those as a guide to write the employee evaluation. That takes stress off of you, again, de-stressing the employee evaluation process. That takes stress off of you trying to remember what the employee has accomplished throughout the year. And it takes the stress out of you for trying to create something with your, in my situation, my bad memory. So definitely use those notes to make this process a de-stressed process for you. So my second tip was, don't carry the burden alone. Remember, we're trying to make sure that this process is smooth and flawless. And again, I can't stress enough, an employee should never, ever, ever be surprised at the outcome of the evaluation. And if they are, it would not be because you have not done all you could do, because you're having honest conversations with that employee along the way. And my third tip is stick to the facts. This is the most important tip of all. As you know, these are HR talks. These talks are geared to most small business owners who may not have a dedicated HR person, or also employees in HR in other countries. Other companies. I said countries. It could work for you as well, but I meant companies or businesses. And when I say stick to the facts, we find often that we have supervisors or managers that have not necessarily been trained properly to write an employee evaluation. And what we often find is that you put things in an employee's evaluation that can make your company liable for defaming employees' characters, just as an example. So when I say stick to the facts, you want to make sure you're writing information in there that it addresses the employee's addressing the employee's performance, and not necessarily something that you may not like, such as their hair color. I don't like people with curly hair. I don't like people that wear blue eyeshadow. And those biases tend to come through when you're writing the employee's evaluation. Steer away from that. You don't want to say that you didn't like the employee's earrings the day they were working on that specific project, unless what the employee is wearing or something of that nature directly affects a policy. So it is a violation of a policy that your company happens to have. I cannot stress that enough. Stick to the facts when you're having these discussions with your employees and you're writing these employee evaluations. And if you follow all of these tips that I recommended above, you will find that your employee evaluation process will go much smoother. You've not done all the work yourself because you shared some of that responsibility with the employee. And that was, again, in step number 2. You didn't carry the burden alone. You had the employee own their own development and evaluation process, and they've shared information with you as you created the process, you both created it together because you used information that you had and information the employee had. Something else, which is going to be a free aha for you, is when you get ready to write your employee evaluation, feel free to send the employee some questions, cut and paste. Please answer these questions about your performance and what you feel you contributed to the team for this year. And that would even de-stress you more because you're doing even less of the process. If the employee is honest and they give you what you feel is honest information, you pretty much can say you agree with that and add a few tips or something else on the employee process to make it more richer and more robust for the employee. Please always, always, always remember to start your employee evaluations off with the things your employee has done well. Then move on to areas that you would like to see some improvement, and finish it with what the employee knocked out the box. Your employee will hear you much better if you nestle any areas of concern in between some good news and some fantastic news. So those are the 3 tips, and I'm going to just repeat them one more time. Make the process bite-sized. Don't carry the burden alone, and stick to the facts. So as always, again, my name is Lynette Phillips with Sekond to None Human Resource Services, and I'm extremely happy to have shared this time with you today. My DE&I tip for today is specific to employee job descriptions. And I want to encourage you, and I'm talking about job descriptions today because we just talked about an evaluation and goal setting. And I want to encourage you as someone who's looking to bring diversity into your organization. When you create your employee job descriptions, you want to make sure that your tasks are gender neutral. And what do I mean by that? So if you have a receptionist and one of their tasks is when a guest enters, that you get up from your chair and you take the coat and hang it up, or you get up and you show the person where to hang their coat and you go to get a cup of coffee, then you make sure it doesn't matter what your gender is when you put that on the job description. It should be something that's gender neutral for both a male or female. And the same with the second example, if you're hiring gardeners, if there's a weight limit, if there's a weight for lifting, don't use a bias of women can't lift as much as men can. Hire the best person for the job and set the expectation that that person meet all the tasks of the job description. And that way you stay out of your gender areas of discrimination. And that was my DE&I tip for today. I want to thank you for joining me on today where we talk about de-stressing employee evaluations. I'd like you to follow me on all of my social outlets. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sekond to None Human Resource Service, and you would find it under Sekond to None HR. Thank you so much for sharing your coffee with me this morning, and I'm going to open it up for any questions that you may have. All right, it doesn't look like I can see any questions in the chat today, so enjoy your inauguration day. Thank you so much for coming, and I will chat with you next time.